It's a new day.
This is New Day Northwest. Now, here's Margaret Larson.
Good morning. How are you? Good to see everybody. Author Robert Taylor shares his new book and some ideas on incorporating spirituality in our everyday lives, things that can make us and the people around us more content and fulfilled. And Seattle. Coming up next, spiritual author Robert Taylor returns to share the keys to finding compassionate purpose in our lives. We're back in a moment. It's a frequently cited fact that Washington State ranks 49th or 50th in church attendance, but that certainly doesn't mean that people in the Northwest are not spiritual. How to utilize our spirituality in the kindest and most productive ways is the subject of a new book by a local author and thinker who's been endorsed by experts including Deepak Chopra, who has appeared on New Day, and even the famed anti-apartheid leader and Nobel laureate Desmond Tutu, who mentored Robert Taylor as a young man in South Africa. The book is a new way to be human, and the author, Robert Taylor, is with us today. Welcome. How are you? Good to see you, my friend.
It is wonderful to see you. Thank you.
So, reading through this book, I heard your voice obviously loud and clear. You grew up in the apartheid era. You had to flee for your life. You came here. You were an official in the Episcopal Church. You've retired from that. You're now a thinker who's gathering from all faith traditions. Why did you feel this was an important book now?
Well, you know, I think, Margaret, so many people live with a sense of jadedness and helplessness right now, sense of being disengaged, and does what I do and what I say and think really matter?
Right.
And I think it doesn't have to be so. And so the book comes out of responding to that and saying, yes, there is a way to be deeply re-engaged and engaged with your own life and, of course, the life of the world in which you live. And so the book is a book about how to be happy, happiness in the profound sense of what is my well-being and the well-being of others look like, and how do I be a part of that, and how in the process to also be a part of changing the world.
I love those ideas, love them very much. I, in fact, sort of put together, you have 7 spiritual pathways in your book, and I took the liberty of putting together some themes that really jumped out at me. One of them was the idea that we should accept ourselves and forgive ourselves, and that's something unique to you in many ways that I've heard you repeat in the past. Tell me why that's one of our starting points for being spiritual.
Well, you know, I think, Margaret, we're made for love and we're made for goodness. And the book offers practical tools for people to learn to love themselves in the power of their own story and in their own life, because I believe that it's in our lives that spiritual wisdom and inner guru is revealed. Many of us also live with a sense of regret or shame about things that have happened or not happened in our lives. And that sense of shame and regret often keeps us enclosed from ourselves. And
from other people,
oh,
right?
completely
we carry it
from
with
other
us
people.
everywhere.
You know, I think a defining moment for me was as a teenager in a body cast for the second time, unable to move, having school kids in my class having to carry everything for me. And I laid on my bed one night just weeping and sobbing. And my black Labrador got up on the bed ever so gently and started kissing me. And I thought, Robert, there's something going on here. You can choose to wallow in your sense of helplessness, in your sense of embarrassment, of feeling disempowered, or you can say, you're going to break free of this enclosure, and it literally was a physical enclosure for me, and learn to accept in what others are doing for you the generosity, the love, the compassion that is being extended.
And accept it without feeling like it's a burden of something you owe back, but just accept it as a human being.
And my guess is that each of your listeners today is in a situation of some kind where there is an opportunity to make a choice about accepting that or not.
I totally agree. You talk about facing fears and embracing change, and change is something that we can bring about. Sometimes it's forced upon us, but it's always there. How do we face our fears and embrace change?
Well, I think part of it is being deeply grounded in the truths of the defining moments of our lives. That when we know that story, when we can tell that story, and when I tell it perhaps today, I'm telling it in a different way than I did 5 years ago, not because the story's different, but perhaps because I'm open to seeing the universal truth, the spirituality, the wisdom of it with new eyes and new awareness. So the book is very much about cultivating that kind of awareness that we become present to.
And so part of that is knowing who you are. Your circumstances may change, things may change around you, but you can have a truth that you hang on to regardless, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
And that may be spiritual, that may be other, that may be a number of things.
Oh, absolutely. And we see those truths with new eyes at different moments in our life.
And for you, do you remember a particular time when change was very hard to deal with and struggling with that? Because you seem so calm and like you would just handle it no matter what happens, whereas, you know, I'm more easily thrown off track.
I think two things about that. One is, you know, several years ago I woke up one day, it was a typical gray Seattle day, and I just had this litany of complaints that came out of my mouth.
We have mornings like that.
And my spouse said to me, wow, are you going to live your day that way, or are you going to create some sunshine? And so I think part of what the book is about is how we make intentional choices. The other thing is that over the last 2 weeks, our domestic life has been somewhat upended. So we're living with all of the excitement about this national book tour and the release of the book. And suddenly my mom is hospitalized 3 times in the course of 2 weeks. And we're facing the likelihood that she will be in a nursing home for probably the rest of her life.
I'm sorry.
And so for me, to be able to talk about change right now is very real, as it is for most of us. We live with these many dimensions of our life all at once. And so the question is how to be grounded in the truth, in my case of dealing with the situation with my mom, and yet also in all of the gladness and excitement and engagement that people have about this book. And the book itself offers pathways to how to be thankful each day, how to be grounded each day in some very practical ways.
And then the last thing I wanted to ask you about is the possibility, I remember hearing just the other day somebody saying, well, it's just business. That's a phrase I've heard so many times that has always kind of bothered me because it indicates that there's like one set of ethical rules for you as a person and another within your work life. And that fragmentation is unsettling to a lot of people. And your whole book is about how to be a whole person, a complete person. So can you give us some encouragement that we can actually integrate an ethical life that covers all of the different roles that we have to play?
Absolutely. I think the book speaks specifically to that we are invited to be integrated with the many facets of what makes us the unique person that we are. And I think at the heart of that is there are tools in understanding your own magnificence. Because when you understand your own magnificence and the uniqueness of your voice and how much the world around you actually needs you and your particular gifts, there starts to emerge the seamlessness about how you approach your life. So instead of seeing this bucket of work and the bucket of my neighborhood or whatever the circumstance is,
put it together, enjoy it, put it out there.
And that's where you discover what I started with saying, this profound sense of happiness about your own well-being and the well-being of others.
I love it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's a wonderful book. And the book launch in Seattle for A New Way to Be Human is tomorrow night at 6:30 at Town Hall. It's free or $20 with the book. We'll have a link to where the book can be purchased and how to sign up for Robert's weekly spiritual newsletter on our website. I happen to love that newsletter. A live performance from Seattle rock band Velcro Mindset right after this. Please stay tuned. Thank you so much.